You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts, but there's only one where the horns are always down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Horns Down Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Horns Down Podcast. Your host, Chris with a K, Chris Griffin, all of that, blah, blah, blah. We got my guy Jay from Unfair Sports. Jay, you guys just did a video, just dropped a video. Go ahead and let the people know where they can find you. And then also go ahead and, just elaborate, man. Let them know.
Yeah, Jay Smith, Unfair Sports. We actually did not go live. I just got home because I was stuck in traffic for like the last hour and a half. But you can find us with a podcast I downloaded and listened to and all that jazz. So yeah, this has been an interesting Thursday.
Hey man, it's been an interesting last 2 weeks, but definitely go follow Unfair Sports, unfairsports.com, correct?
Unfairsports.tv.
.tv. And if you're not a part of the Discord, then maybe you should be, because man, it's a lot of really interesting folks in there with a lot of really good information too, and a lot of good insight as well. So this is like Jay's second home. Unfair Sports is like my second home. So you know what we do. So with that being getting out of the way, Jay, let's get straight to it, man. Look, we're gonna get right to it. All right. Recruiting class. What are your thoughts about this recruiting class, man? If I may say, I'm really excited about Eli Bowen, man. The potential there is just crazy. I know it's a bit undersized. Really, really, really excited. But Jay, I'll let you have the floor. Go ahead and tell me what you think about this class. And yeah.
Yeah, actually kind of funny. Hold a second. It looks like Coop jumped into the room on accident. Hey, I'm actually live with our boy Chris right now, Coop. So
I tell Coop to come on if you want to join.
I'll send you a link. No, yeah, I was in my other studio closing everything out because I couldn't jump in. But anyway,
gotcha.
No, man. Keeping it a buck, man. This class, I mean, I dropped a couple videos talking about the trenches. I think that's the most important thing to really dive into, right? Is when you look at how we've been moving in the transfer portal and the way we're doing things. Venables mentioned it today. I got another video coming out tomorrow to talk really in depth on it. But for the most part, he talked about how they're very particular about who they're going after in the portal, right? Like they're not going after everybody. They got certain targets, and that's by design, specifically because the class we're bringing in, man, that defensive line is stupid. It's like the D-line stupid, the wide receiver room stupid, hell, the O-line stupid, hell, the running back room stupid. This is even as a top 10 class, this is probably one of the best classes we've had, right? We've got talent oozing on all sides. And what jumps out, of course, you got the top defensive lineman on ESPN's ratings and David Stone. You add him. That entire defensive line is just dumb. Danny Okoye, which is beyond underrated. He's going to be something special. And from that part, you add in that offensive line with Eddie Pierre. So EPL with Isaiah Autry. I broke down the numbers with him, Eugene Brooks, Josh Isosa. I went down through all their numbers. Our average size on the line, Chris, you're going to be surprised, man. Height and weight, 6'4", 312 pounds.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So we got meat, meat, and speed. So there's so many avenues you could go in the conversation about this class. It's just about the excitement behind it. But that defensive line and that offensive line, to me, truly the trenches, they're going to fill a lot of gaps and holes that we may have lost going into the SEC from, seniors and players graduating.
Coach gets on here. He says, out of all this year's recruits, who will be an immediate impact? I'll be honest with you. I mean, the obvious answer is, I'm just gonna go out and say it. I think Okoye may be the one. I think Okoye could be the one. Obviously, David Stone. I think David Stone's gonna be in that rotation as well. Would love to see Nigel Smith out there, but see, that's the
Stephen G's got the good point. It's Liam Evans probably.
Liam Evans, really?
Yeah, the kicker. Yeah. It's probably gonna be the kicker, most impactful guy on this team.
Probably kicker, right? He could be, but I would say, don't forget about some of the guys that are already there. And that's the beauty of the situation with Lacey and Terry coming back. That adds, we're going to have that competitive depth, in my opinion. You got Ashton Sanders. I know they're big on Marcus Strong. Grayson Halton is still there. So it's going to be interesting to see that interior D line rotation. Yeah. One guy that I think that we're all forgetting about is Taylor Wine. I am excited about that kid, just mixing him up with PJ, the possibilities you can have with that if R. Thomas is healthy. But at the same time, I think you're going to see a lot of those guys, honestly. But I think if you ask me who's going to have an immediate impact, I would not be surprised if it's Danny Okoye. And again, like I said, people, I'm really, really excited about Eli Bowen. I know it may be a stretch because of RSJ, his brother, all of them, but Eli Bowen is, if you watch the highlights, that guy is electric, man. That guy is electric.
What's even wilder with that too, and you're not wrong on it, because that's what makes him jump out is he was one of
I think we have some technical difficulties with you, Jay.
Is all around on that. Oh, there we go. Is that better? Am I good?
Yeah, say that again, Jay. Say that again.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Eli Bowen was probably the best defender on that team for what the last from since his sophomore year in high school. Yeah. That's how good and talented he is, right? Mm-hmm. That's how special of a player he is, and so no, you're not off base by saying Eli is one that jumps out and it could be something special, because he could. Now, I don't see him playing now with who we have out there in the secondary today. And if some of the rumors come to fruition, I won't say it now, but there's a potential for a return of someone else. If that does happen, the depth chart's going to be a lot deeper. It's going to be harder, but he'll crack it in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
By his redshirt sophomore season, he'll be done cracked it. He'll probably redshirt this year, this coming season, and then be around as a redshirt freshman with redshirt sophomore season. Yeah, he's going to crack it. He'll play.
I think that I forget about Ethan Downs too. Our edges, I mean, we have some vets there. With R. Mason Thomas, I mean, I think that going into the season, you would assume that Ethan Downs and R. Mason Thomas would be your starters if healthy, right? But with PJ Adebawore, obviously, I know some people are going to eat me up and say, no, PJ is going to be a starter. But you got PJ, you got Taylor Wine, you got Ethan Downs, you got R. Mason Thomas. Those are kind of like your solid four right there.
Yeah, your big problem with R. Mason is health.
Yeah.
Like, no shade on him, no beef with him whatsoever, but that's the only reason why I'm very hesitant about him and any type of excitement that I have. I need to see him healthy. That's it.
Yeah.
I see him healthy, he's elite, but he ain't ever healthy. So
yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the thing. And I think going to the SEC, I think the same way that, we came into the season talking about the DB room when just in particular how I think it was Drew who told us that story about, what he saw at a practice one time with Key Lawrence about, Venable saying, hey, I've seen this movie before, right? There's a little mistake and all the rest of that. I think we're going to see that on the D-line as well, as far as seeing those rotations. Going to the SEC, what you're excited about is, don't get me wrong, they're still going to do things as far as try to counter our aggressiveness by, showing us this look and then, coming out there and doing ring around the rosy like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Then going to their formation. So we're going to still see stuff like that, but a lot of these SEC teams are going to be more willing to play us straight up, meaning they're not going to get the ball out of their hands in 2.5 seconds, like some of these teams that we're going to see with Tulane, Houston, teams like that. We're going to try to counter our team's speed on defense. But I do see us having rotations and being able to truly, I think this year we were on the verge of really having that competitive depth. And don't get me wrong, we had solid play. We're a 10-2 team. What I mean is, I think now the competitive depth meets the talent. You get what I'm saying? Because the competitive depth was you're replacing guys and you're getting better. Love Bothroyd. I think Bothroyd another year in this system would be hell, especially in the SEC. But getting a Nigel Smith, a Danny Okoye, guys like that, and having these guys like Deshaun McCullough. He's going to be lights out next year, in my opinion, simply because he's got to have a better understanding of that cheetah role. If we're able to get Justin Harrington back, there's a lot of what ifs on this defense. And man, Coach brings up a good question because it's kind of hard to pick one of these freshmen that can have an immediate impact, but I still see one of them being able to kind of pop out there, having similar roles to what Peyton Bowen or PJ had this year. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, the question is whose job are they going to potentially be able to take, right? Like, what positions are truly open that one of these young bucks will be able to get? And if you want me to be honest, I think the player that has probably the most likely chance of actually getting meaningful snaps early, EPL. We can use line play. We can use another guard. But I think EPL is most likely the one to play earliest. I think Okoye and Stone's going to force the coach's hands to play him, especially if they work their butts off in camp and they're just like, yeah, you can't keep this dude off the field type situation. Then I could totally see Okoye, because the biggest thing is going to be picking up the schemes, understand the terminology, and the guys that pick that up the fastest are the ones going to play the fastest. And I know one that will be a student of the game that's going to be prepared. And he told me, I was talking to him last night. We were sitting down chopping it up, and he's like, look, I'm here. I'm going to be here for the practices, which, have you seen that list of players that's going to be at practices right now?
Yeah, I've seen it.
So we just, I know that OU football just tweeted it out or whatnot. So you got Eli Bowen, Jaden Jackson, Nigel Smith, Wyatt Gilmore, Jaden Hardy, Michael Hawkins, and Xavier Robinson. And so I saw X-Rob, I saw Jaden Hardy, I saw Nigel Smith, Jaden Jackson, and I think that was Eli. I think that was Eli Bowen that was there too. I saw all of them last night at the OU Insider event they had at Sooner Daiquiri in downtown Norman. And I was standing there talking to Nigel, and he's the player that could also sneak his way into a lot of playing time, because he told me, he was like, yeah, I'm here now. I'll be here for bowl practices. He's like, man, my goal, I want to get with Schmitty, get myself right. I want to get that playbook down. And you can tell with the intensity of his conversation, because he's a quiet dude, but the intensity of that conversation, I'm just like, oh no, he's not playing. Like, he's going to be such a student of that. He may have the scheme and terminology down packed before the first set of classes in January, dog.
Yeah, no,
that's how intense and how focused he's showing. So he could be one to sneak in too.
Jaden Jackson as well. I mean, these are guys that let's just be honest. Let's be real. I mean, these are the caliber of players. This is the type of D line that Venables will go and get at Clemson. And he would bring in these guys, stars and no stars, and he would bring these guys in, get them in early, and get them and get the install going. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I'm really excited about it. Offensively, I think, man, Kearney could be a guy, man, that you see out there early and often, especially if they're still working to get Andrell Anthony back, if he's still working off of that ACL. But I think Kearney could be a guy. There's some wide receivers that you have there. Let me ask you a question real quick. As far as our numbers, I know that was a topic that has been kind of going around with this recruiting class and all the rest of that. We're at 27, I believe, right? So it's kind of a two-part question, because I think some people are going to be like, where are you going with this? So first off, is there room for more? But on the back end of it, I think we're 4 over or so. I think that's what the numbers are saying as far as scholarships. Do you see some guys getting processed out as far as to make room for all of that? And I think that's 4 over with the recruits that we just got from high school and the transfer portal. So do you see do we have room for more guys? Will there be a lot of more room for more guys, or what's going on? Because I know this is the year the last year where you can kind of overload yourself with players, right?
Yeah, and they're going to have to, because you have to get to 85 scholarships. So either guys are going to get processed out, they're going to be moved to PWL status. So yes, I anticipate that's going to happen. I just don't know who will be those people, right? The wide receiver room is stacked, right? It's stacked to the brim. And from there, I mean, I honestly see those guys sticking around. Even the ones we expected to hit the portal, I actually expect them sticking around, get a PWO where their school's completely paid for, and take care of them. But we've got a good list. We got about four. We're about four over that. About 4 or 5 over. So we got some cuts to make. That's gonna have to happen, especially once you start adding in these transfers. Venables mentioned he anticipates 37 players being added to the team. 27 to 28 on the class, in which we're actually working on 2 people right now. And we've got at least 10 transfers is the anticipated number. So that means you're going to be moving, as James mentioned, you can move them to walk-on status and move them to give them NIL and pay them for their school and still pay them and everything. But that's what we anticipate is going to have to happen. So it will. And don't worry, we've got more, because we've got 4? We got 4 players right now at the portal. We got 6 more left, and I have a good idea about 3 of them.
Care to share?
So do not. So 2 of them aren't in the portal yet, so I'm not going to talk about them. I don't talk about people that ain't in the portal yet.
You can't do that. Can't do that.
Yep. Don't talk about people in the portal. That's my rule. And we can, but because we can speculate all we want, but that is one rule I've made, is that I won't talk about people that are not in the portal. But I say 2 aren't. I say 1 in the portal that I sense we're going to get our hands on is Anton Junkaj up there in Albany.
Yeah, the Albany D tackle. Yeah.
I sense that he's going to be one of those players that we're going to put the full court press on in January to get on campus and do a visit. He comes and visits, he's a lock.
Yeah, he's a you kind of wondering with Jared Verse and all the rest of that, what the hell is going up there at Albany? How are these kids
find diamonds in the rough?
Yeah, man.
Rooftop.
No, and that's the thing that you love about BV, is that he's not going to. Recruiting doesn't just stop just because you got this cycle finished as far as this early signing day period. It doesn't stop. Like, you got to, it's year round, you know? So I love that about him. But man, look, overall, I think this class is special. I think this is the best class. Defensively, it's heavy defense, heavy emphasis on the defense. And I think that you address a lot of needs. I wouldn't even say significant needs, but I would say you address a lot of needs that made a lot of Sooner Nation very happy. Definitely no drama, no Florida type situations, no Florida type issues, no more Peyton Bowen type issues. It was pretty much just kind of a smooth process for me. I'm excited though. I'm excited for the mid years as well, to see that list of those mid-years at those key positions, the O-line and other places or whatever. It tells me that these kids are serious about coming in here and really trying to flip that script. I think next year is really just trying to, not only you flip the script this year, I think you're trying to establish that narrative, establish that plot for what you're doing going forward. So, you really like that. You like that Hawkins is there to really work on his mechanics, to work on the playbook, to know everything, to be up to speed. It's going to make people a lot more comfortable with them being backups to Jackson Arnold, which is, obviously that's the assumption that's going to be with some of these wide receivers and guys like that coming in there and building that relationship and that rapport with Joe John and Seth Luttrell is going to be key for everything, because you need all hands on deck going forward. So, I mean, offensively and defensively, I couldn't be any more happier than what I am, simply because I think we got better, So let's move on to the transfer portal, man. As Gabe Eicher would say, the transport give us and the transfer portal take us. So let's talk about what it did give us in Deion Branch, man. Obviously, you turn on the highlights and you see some things as far as, they're down 40 by, Deion Burke, excuse me. So you see that they're down by 30 or so to Michigan or whatnot, but you see he's still playing and you see he's still making plays, right? You see the explosive plays that he's able to make, some of the elusiveness as well. It's one of those things where, coming into this chapter, or to turn into this next chapter, the next page, me and my uncle, we're talking. He's like, man, you gotta move Farouk inside and let Anderson and Gibson and Andre Anthony really work the outside. You're gonna have some freshmen that you could put inside as well. Get Brennan Thompson more run as well. But man, to go and get Deion Branch is one of those things where you say, "Oh, I keep saying Branch. Why I keep saying Branch?"
Because former NFL player. I get it.
Gosh, I keep thinking about Brady. But anyways. So Deion Burks. So when you get a guy like
Burks
that, when you get a guy like that, it makes you more comfortable saying, like, damn, I know we just lost Drake Stoops, who's a sheer hand, possession receiver, all the rest of that. But damn, we just upgraded inside. Because I think he's a guy that obviously you can put outside. I think he could do damage inside. I think that a little teaser, a little comp of what he could be. I think he could be a more explosive Brennan Presley as far as what they do down there at Okie Light with what they do. I think that's a good for those who haven't really watched his highlights or even watched the Purdue game. I think that's a good comparison of just showing like, hey, this is what he could potentially be, a big play threat all over the field.
I agree with you that 100%. The only thing I don't agree with, I don't know about Deion Burks going. You got me already. I don't think you see Burks going on the inside though. I honestly think that because he's played like 700 snaps on the outside, really on the left. At the left wide receiver spot, that's the X. So he's more of a guy that's going to play on the outside and dominate from there. Now I could see him there, Nick, as your Y and your Z, your slot guy. Honestly, I throw Farouk there. Rotate, let him be the possession guy, the Drake Stoops dude, because he don't need to use speed for that. He just need to get out there, run the great routes he always does, and just get open. That would be such a benefit to Jackson Arnold, having a guy that can do that. Add in, of course, you're going to play a lot more Brennan. I think you throw Brennan on the outside with Burks until Andre Anthony's back healthy, and keep Jaden Gibson right behind Nick Anderson, and then just occasionally swap it to where you have just a whole bunch of giants on the field. You could put Gibson next to put Gibson, Anthony, and Farouk in like a 3, in like a little cluster. Goodness, that would be stupid, but that would be one of those plays that could totally work because of just the size and personnel we have. Those wide receivers are absurd. We've got a elite wide receiver room. We've shown it. I mean, Nick Anderson led the country in yards per catch at 23.6. So if you cluster them over there, I think Luttrell's going to have some very intriguing sets going into this bowl game of how he's going to use the wide receivers. It's going to blow y'all away.
No, I definitely think it's going to blow y'all away. If you go back to one of my earlier videos when we talked about Seth Luttrell being hired on as he's the play caller, co-offensive coordinator, but he's the play caller. Man, all you got to do is just type in Mason Fine highlights. It doesn't matter which year he was there. As long as Seth Luttrell is there, you're going to see that offense. They get down the field. It's vertical. It's a vertical threat. They do not play. They will dice you up over it has a lot of RPO concepts to it as well, but it's how should I say this? It's less east-west like Levy would like to do, and more kind of north-south like Lincoln would like to do, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that those is really, if you just base it off of the RPO concepts, it's play action to the running back, tight ends running right over the middle. It's things like that, little dagger plays. So then that's where you're excited about a guy like I'm gonna mess up the name, but Bauer Sharp, right? So Bauer Sharp is a guy that comes in at tight end that you maybe not too jazzed up about, but he's a guy that looks like, from the film, he looks like a guy that's going to be durable, that can block a little bit and can catch the football as well. So you combine that with Devon Mitchell, possibly Fanuel. I think Fanuel could have a big year this year. We'll see if he's able to take a step. I think that's a guy that people should look out for, but also Caden McIntyre as well. Can we finally see Caden Helms? I mean, is that going to be something there?
Yeah, the question is, what does his health look like? So yeah.
because Caden Helms, to me, I mean, he's nobody, but I think he's nobody but Grant Calcaterra, maybe a more athletic Grant Calcaterra, honestly. If you watch his,
nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. But as far as what we have gotten in the portal, who's your guy that you're just like, yeah, I'm excited that we got this guy?
I think it's Burks as well. I think he's probably the one dude that jumped out to me the most. I mean, I like Franklin, the running back that we pulled in, because it's nice to have some additional backs, but I think our room is pretty loaded. The question I have on the backside is, how healthy are the other guys going to be? Like, is Megwa going to be able to see more game? I know that he destroyed his knee. It was one of those injuries that they basically said, dog, you ain't ever playing ball again. But then he got a carry against TCU at the end of the season. It's like, maybe he can get about 12 carries a game. And if his 12 carries lead to 100 and some yards, you don't see a complaint out of me? Absolutely not. So Franklin, I think he'll see some run. I don't know how much, but my big question's going to be is really how we're going to leverage this wide receiver room, because there's so many weapons available. And I mean, Andrew's young. I think that he'll be fine with that ACL. He'll be back next season, and he'll probably look like nothing happened, right? He'll be able to come in healthy enough through most of the season. But the good thing is that he won't have to play every game.
No.
Type deal, which helps. Having so many receivers that you can swap it out based on what you need. And so I'm pretty excited about what Burks is going to bring, what additional piece he adds to what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. No, hey, look, I'm excited about it, man. I really am excited about the kid. That was a big pickup, and there's just so many possibilities. But I think that you're going to see, you're going to see some really cool concepts from that offense next year. Really cool formations. Just the scheme overall is going to be outstanding, I believe, and I think you're going to have the run game with it as well. How do you feel about the running back that we got out of UT Martin? Sam Franklin.
I like Franklin. The biggest thing with him is I don't know how much run we're going to see out of him. That's what I was kind of talking about. Like with Megwa, he looked like he's starting to get healthy, and he's running it a couple of times a game, 12, under 15. Like he's running 10 to 12 times, and he's getting 100 yards. I'm happy. You ain't gonna see no complaint out of me. Then from there, you expect Barnes as well as Salchuk to be back to normal health. And hell, to be honest, I think Tyree Walker is supposed to have had a visit with Wisconsin recently, and it seems like he's still practicing with us. So there's a good chance that boy be back, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and yeah, Anikuno, that's a good point. And the funny thing, I think when you say that is, I think Latrell won't have the same autonomy that Levy had. I think it's going to be more of a committee setup. And Venables may have his hand a little bit more. Now, the question is going to be, who does Levy bring in on the defensive side, especially at linebacker to help at DC? I mean, I'm hoping we still pursue Arnett. That would be lovely. Or honestly, Brian Odom's on the market.
Yeah.
I would totally bring him in as an analyst, bring him back. Hey, come back home, because he did a really good job with the linebackers, and I would love to bring him in and get Tackett Curtis to follow him.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad at that. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that. I mean, all right.
Technically, we're going to need a linebacker. There's a good chance we will be one short at linebacker next season, which hurts me. But at the same time, I totally get it. I totally get the decision that's most likely going to happen. I don't anticipate James Nesta playing here.
Oh, you think baseball
MLB.
draft?
I think he's going to get drafted in MLB. And if he does, because I saw his grade, I think he got graded like a 9.7 out of 10, throwing 92 miles per hour. And if he's that good, he ain't coming here.
What about Tatum?
Oh, Tatum. I don't think Tatum gets drafted as high as what Nesta is. Like, Nesta's a elite pitcher.
Really?
So if he gets drafted high, he goes. Like, I don't think he pulls a Kyler. Like, Kyler was a different animal. I hate when people try to compare Kyler getting drafted and deciding to play football instead, because quarterbacks make a ton more money than everybody else. So it made sense because he's making $150 million with the Cardinals right now. Quarterback, it would have took him till he's about 30 to get that same pay in baseball.
Yeah.
He's making a lot more there. At linebacker, running back, hell, they don't pay running backs nowadays.
No.
So running back and linebacker, yeah, you get paid, but you ain't getting paid like Kyler is at quarterback or even baseball players. Go take the baseball money. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I knew that Kyler really wanted to play quarterback, but it's also economically it made more sense to go play quarterback, but especially as good as he is. So yeah, Nesta is gonna get paid if he goes ahead because Kyler was a hitter as well. Pitchers get paid in baseball. So I sense that we are going to need another linebacker. Now, I really hope Nesta comes. You play a little edge, play a little cheetah. I really hope he does. But at the same time, I totally get if he gets drafted high enough and he goes play pro baseball. Salute, brother. Salute.
Get paid.
Make that money.
Paid. Hey, real quick before we keep moving on with this with these topics, y'all, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, do all those things. Not only to this channel, the Horns Down Podcast, but also the Unfair Sports. Got to give a shout out to my guy PG, the PG Show as well. Hall of Fame football podcast with Jason and Coach. You've seen both of them in here, and then also Oni Kuno, my friend Sean. Definitely got to check out his content as well. So it's a lot of content.
Be pulling up, man. And Sean active lately. You've been everywhere, man. It's good to see him.
Hey, we
need to bring him on with everybody. We need to just do a big old show.
For sure. But and then he says another linebacker post spring, maybe.
Good point. Now I would like Tackett Curtis personally, but I could totally see in April, because NMLB draft is in the summer. So you'll have an idea of his grade after this baseball season. So, which that's a good point. If he gets his grades and stuff back from baseball close to late spring, that'd be a good indication of following up. Like, hey man, I think I'm gonna go do the baseball route. We can start looking, but I would like Curtis. Give me Tackett Curtis. I would really like him. He was a very effective freshman, and I would not mind having him within our 3 deep.
Yeah. Man, look, this is a topic of conversation because in the chat, because it seems Sean has done it. Jason has said it. I think Steven or somebody else has said it inside of the chat, but everybody is hoping that Latrell and Joe John, the personnel package, the groupings, we're hoping that we get to see a variety. Obviously, feed the hot hen or the hot unit, but I mean, it would be nice to see Raggins and KJ Daniels out there. You're seeing those sets with all those speedsters. Man, you got some guys out there. I mean, my aunt described it to me. He said, "Hey, look, he said in his opinion, he thinks that Kearney could be CD for us. That's how good he thinks that Zion Kearney could be." But he also said to me, I think, and what I summed up from the conversation was that the floor for a guy like Zion Kearney is being a more athletic Malcolm Kelly. So either or, I'm taking all day. I'm taking both of those all day. So I thought those were good comps. But Raggins, Daniels, when we talked about them, he said, "Hey, how Sark was just running all those damn crossing routes when he was at Alabama." He said that those are those type of guys right there that you can run that with because they present that type of problem for you because there's that speed. Put them with a guy like Brennan Thompson, possibly even put Jaden Gibson out there, and especially if you go 4 wide, he's like, man, that's going to be hell for people. Deion Burks as well. But he said, that's what those freshmen are going to be able to give us at some point when their number is called. So, I mean, what's your thoughts about that? And just overall, what's your thoughts about the questions that they put in here about, will Joe John and Latrell open it up to have these more exotic packages instead of just seeing those main 3 wide receivers while you got all this talent on the other side, on the sideline?
Oh no, I expect them to run 4 wide receiver sets on a regular basis. A lot of clusters. I see I see some jet sweeps, which I know a lot of people don't like that word. That's a curse word around here nowadays. But I do anticipate seeing some of those mixed in with a lot of vertical play. I mean, with Latrell, a lot of his game has always been more vertical. Like I said, watch Mason Fine. He was launching that thing like all the dang time. Every time you look up, that thing was flying. And the good thing that Jackson Arnold, arm talent wise and game wise, the way he played at Denton Geyer, I mean, the word is out there in these streets that he likes to like let it go too. He likes to take risks. He's all about that risk. His risk assessment levels are very low. Mm-hmm. So sometimes he just throw that thing and could be a turnover. But because of the wide receivers we have, all you gotta do is launch and let them dudes run underneath it. Right.
But if you go and watch those Mason Fine highlights, like I said, Mason Fine did the exact same thing. Okay. There's a lot of 50-50 balls. They like those big, those taller, aggressive wide receivers. They're trying to push the ball down the field. They're not trying to go east and west. East and west is a drop off to the what you would consider to be the fullback, the H-back, or whatever you want to call in that formation. That's the east to west play. There's a couple of bubble screens in there. There's sometimes where the RPO is a slant and you have options on that, obviously RPO. But the thing is that they want to, from what I've seen with Latrell, he wants to get down the field. It's not a let's just sit there. And some of the early reports that you've heard from camp thus far as his bowl season camp, these bowl season practices, I think that's better to say, is that Jackson Arnold is putting the ball in a lot of places that receivers are like, wait a minute. We didn't realize it was like this, So, I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see. I think Arizona is a great test for him just to give people a glimpse of what is going to happen. I think that's going to be something because they're a respectable squad. You're supposed to go out there and win that game by 20, 30 points if you're OU. But I think if you're, dare I say it, not a casual, I think you understand, hey, look, this is going to be a good game, at least early on. Somebody's going to pull away or it's going to be a tight game throughout. So, I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about Jackson Arnold. I think he is going to get the ball to a lot of guys. But I think you're going to see them feed the hot hand. My worry is not so much the personnel groupings that we see out there with the wide receivers. My thoughts are my concern is Latrell going to be like Levy where he's stubborn with certain plays? And I know that was kind of Levy's calling card as far as if he thought he had you in a bind, he was going to hurry up, try to run the same play again, And a lot of times here at OU, I know in Ole Miss it probably worked, but at OU it just it felt like it bit us in the ass, simply because you're sitting there trying to hurry up, run the same play, you're running right smack dab in the middle of something, it just, I don't know. So that's something that I want to see as well kind of be changed.
And you're not wrong, because that's kind of the bigger problem you ran into with that situation, right? Is when that hurry up offense was them basically repeating the plays a lot.
Yeah.
And some teams start to catch on to it, and that can make it to where you can stall and you end up in third and long. And Venables mentioned the goal is to win first down.
Mm-hmm.
You win first down, then your offense is going to continuously hum. Second and third down is important. First down, if you can get as much chunk, that's what's most important. And so that, to me, feels like what Latrell is going to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Plays is going to continuously get them. Now, you're going to see tempo. You still going to see tempo all the time. It's going to be timing when they need tempo. It'll be whenever they get the defense on their toes. So that, James, to answer that question, yes, that is the one thing that he's known for. He'll run tempo only when needed. When he's got the defense on the edge, he's got them exhausted, the big man's a huffing and puffing, he'll run that tempo to wear them down. And whenever the game is at certain points where you need to slow it down and be a little bit more meticulous about how you want to pick them apart, he slows it down. So you're going to get both, which is what you've been wanting out of, and also he's been a head coach 5 years. So he's not someone that Venables and then will have to be worried about when it comes to games management. He's got the experience. He's failed enough as a head coach and had the successes of running games a certain way to where he's got the experience to be able to know how to manage time. So that's why I'm excited about having Latrell do it. Joe John Finley learns underneath him. He's one of the guys that mind-wise is a fast riser in the game. A lot of teams have looked to even poach him in the past. So that's what we're looking forward to going into the season with Latrell and these guys. I anticipate him using the entire roster if he could.
All right. So, I guys, I want to preface this by saying, look, I had a friend, okay, Okie Light fan, all right, okay.
Lord.
Let's just get that out of the way. He gave Jackson Arnold. He gave Jackson Arnold a comp. He said, "This is my honest comp for him, and this is what he said. This is based off of what I've heard. He's a more athletic Sam Bradford." And I said, "I'm not mad at that." So I'm gonna ask the chat, and I'm gonna ask you, Jay. Is that your impression of Jackson Arnold? Is that a good comp, or is that not? You know,
I don't think it's a bad comp, but I don't see it with it. Honestly, being truthful, I think his floor is an athletic Landry Jones. So he'll throw for he'll probably break OU's record for passing yards if he sticks around for 4 years. For 3 years total, if he plays for 3 years, he'll probably break those records. I think his ceiling is Baker. He plays similar to him with the same attitude. And the question is he able to leverage all those wide receivers and his legs and put up the numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, and hey, Sean's right. Because for y'all that don't know this, Sam Bradford is a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
He's absurdly athletic and talented in every capacity. He just didn't have to when he played here. So yeah, he would probably be pissed off if he heard people saying, "Wait, you don't think I'm athletic?" Yeah, but Jackson Arnold shows it. He likes to run people over. He's not a bulldozer, which is really good. He's a quarterback that knows how to move. If you want a comp for today's game, Drake May. His game is literally Drake May.
Okay.
I just think that his deal's gonna have to be being more patient with the ball and not making the mistakes like Drake May did. But I think he's Drake May. I think he can walk in here and end up people looking at him and potentially going into the Heisman conversation. Not saying he'll make it to New York, but they'll be like, okay, we got to watch this dude because he's balling. And I say that because the focus and emphasis on defense that this team has done, that the staff has done, bro, that's going to take so much pressure off his back in the first 4 weeks. If the defense is really carrying it, all you got to do is keep putting up numbers and putting up points. I expect us to put up more points this year than we did last.
Hey, that would be lovely. And I think that here's the one thing that I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave it here.
Jason claims he's a scratch golfer. I don't believe him.
I'm gonna say this right here, okay, and I'm gonna leave it here. I think the deep balls will turn into touchdowns this year. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say, because Jay and Jason, I know how y'all feel. I know how y'all feel about a certain somebody that's at Oregon now. So I'm gonna leave it alone. I think that he will recognize those things, and I think that you saw it whenever he threw that touchdown to Nick Anderson against Tulsa. He took a hit, still delivered, and it was on the money, baby. That's all I'm gonna say, Jay. That's all I'm gonna say.
Look, Jack, look. DG gave us some of those too. He hit guys in stride too. The bigger thing is that DG would hesitate too much. I think that Jackson Arnold won't hesitate. He'll pull the trigger a lot faster. I think that's going to be the difference between the two. And I think that's the thing that I hope that J.A. learned being behind Dylan is don't hesitate on the trigger. You know your guy's going to be there. Launch it to that boy. Let him go underneath it. He will find his way.
Yeah. All right. Jay, if you would, go ahead and pull up the SEC schedule next year. That's going to be our last segment. But like I said, guys, the portal, give us, the portal, take us. So we got to discuss on the back end of this, and we don't have to talk about it too long. But Kaden Green made some comments that I think it's a mess right now. It's a mess. How it was handled, we won't rehash that. You guys have watched the Oklahoma breakdown. I'm sure you watched Sean, you watched Jason, you heard Jay talk about it, heard PG talk about it. Here, you probably heard Ty talk about it around the table sports. So we're not going to rehash everything, because I think everybody knows by now, or has heard 2 or 3 stories about how it was handled. But Jay, when you hear things like treat me like a human, treat me like family, or and things like that, on the way out, is that a slight at BV, or what's going on? Because it was it an honest conversation? And I'm just asking if you've heard anything. Have you heard? I mean, was it an honest conversation about, hey, we see you here at guard, you want to play left tackle? Was it anything having to deal with that? Just kind of, what did you make out of the whole thing, man?
So the most recent comments that was floating around by one of the Missouri outlets or whatnot, I'm gonna be 100% honest with y'all, and I'm going to be, tell him Oni. I'm gonna be honest. I believe him. I believe what he said. I think he was telling the truth. Do I think it was a slight at BV? No. But I do think it was a shot at Beatonbow. I'll tell you why. Because Beatonbow and DeMarco Murray, rumor has it, old school, hard coaches. They in your behind. The Tyree Walker situation, supposedly he threw a punch at DeMarco because he was pissed off at the way that DeMarco was riding him. You put 2 and 2 together there, right? Beatonbow don't play on the line. His players love him. Then they respect him because he's helped shape them into where they are. But at the same time, he heard that he ain't the nicest dude when it comes to practices. So I could totally see Kaden telling the truth. I could totally see him feeling like he wasn't treated like a human because they were in his behind. It's all about how you want to take it. Now, do some coaches take things too far? Some do. I don't think that this staff has. But we all know that when Venables talked about being a human, and he talked about on the SEC network, if you know what I'm talking, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I dropped a video yesterday about the picture is Venables and it says real one. Check it out. Basically on the SEC network, he gave us an insight of how he recruits. And what he tells them, and the biggest thing he tells them is that he gives them a place to be comfortable, a place to be able to be vulnerable. He told the story of how dysfunctional his childhood was, and how the first time he ever heard a man tell him he loved him was a coach when he got older, right? He said he tries to foster an environment where there's comfort, but at the same time, we all know that Brent Venables is a hard ass in practice. We've seen the videos of him dropping F-bombs at players to get in the right spot. Like, he rides your behind. But he's also been infamous for being one of those coaches that everybody appreciates. Former players were tweeting at him, tweeting after that, was saying, yeah, man, I remember, who was it? Travis Wilson, who was the co-offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys right now, wide receiver coach. He said that. He was like, yep, that if there's anybody that walks their talk, it's this guy. When I was there, exactly how he was. Now it's back in 05, So he was there in the early era of Brent Venables doing that, and he's continued that. He's a hard ass. That's how he coaches. Same thing with the rest of the staff. They're tough. They push you. They make you uncomfortable. But guess what always comes out of that pressure, baby? Usually diamonds. That is one of the big things that I've heard people talk about. So, yeah. I believe him. I 100% believe Kaden felt that way. Some could say he's soft. I mean, I will not discourage you from feeling that way. I don't feel like it was being soft. It may have just not been the type of coaching that resonated with him. Some players it resonates with, some don't. We've seen it. That's why you see some players that don't ever pan out the way they're supposed to be, because it just did not hit the right way with them. I just don't think it was good for him. Good situation. Plus, I probably think he wanted to go home anyway.
I don't know what to make of it, man. It's the way it was handled was poor. The way it's people have reacted to it has been poor on the back end. But hey, I wish the kid the best. I think the kid is a uber talented kid. I think that he has a chance to be very special wherever he's at. And if that's at Mizzou, then that's at Mizzou, man. So all hey, it is what it is. And I think that there's not too much that I can really add off of that. I'll piggyback off of that and just say you're exactly right. When you get to, and this is something that I'd be talking to a younger Kchris, and I'll be talking to just, young kids out there right now. When you get to a college program, man, it's a job, man, especially at the D1 level, but it's at any level, honestly. Those coaches are there to win. It's a business. Biggest thing that you have to understand is two things. Unless you're that guy, and unless you're playing, unless you're doing what you need to do or whatnot,
yep.
You made it if you're at that point, right? But if you're just a guy, if you're just a jag, as Steve Smith would say, you got to understand, you got to fall in love with your role, whatever role is given to you, and you got to understand that role, and you got to get that role,
and be great at that role, be great at that thing.
Yes. Because the thing is that before this NIL was there, I'm on record as saying that when I was, doing the whole journalism thing at OSU, I mean, college athletics was legal prostitution. Let's be real. Because if you're not making that coach look great on the field, off the field with your grades, and you're not adding anything to that program, they recruit over you. They'll use you for the next 2 or 3 years, or they just may get rid of you and cut ties. You have to sign basically a new letter of intent each year just to let everybody know that you're coming back officially, So I think that's something that these young kids got to understand, man. It's just sometimes you mix and mash with coaches or whatnot. And beating Bo is now, was that a huge loss? It's a huge loss, dude. It's a huge loss.
Yeah, he's a big piece.
He's a big piece, man. He's a big piece of of the future. Will Beaton Bo be able to go get another Kaden Green? I dare to say yes, he will. I dare to say yes, he will. Will it be this year out of the portal? Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably
we
not.
may already have him.
Yeah, we may already have him. So I think that's kind of the thing. And for me, I trust this coaching staff. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say, hey, I'm gonna let them do their thing, right? So I think that's
Patience.
kind of
yeah. I think EPL is gonna be that dude. I really do. Honestly, I'm ready to see what Howland as well as Ozeta looks like coming in now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's work. College football is work at levels upon levels on levels. But Steven, this is funny to me that people actually think there's a rivalry. I think it's cute. I think it's more beef than it is rivalry. I just think people just hate each other. And I think Missouri thinks they're smelling themselves right now, but they've never been there. So of course they don't know how to act. We can't pretend like they're sophisticated. There's nothing about them that's sophisticated because they've been ass for years.
Yeah,
Drink was out the door. We was expecting Drink to get fired by the end of the season, right?
And this is the whole thing. Is just like Tennessee last year? Did they catch lightning in a bottle? That's what you have to ask yourself.
They did.
That's exactly what you have to ask yourself. There's a reason. Now I know they picked up one in the wide receiver portal, but I'll say this right here. There's a reason why they were so hung up on trying to flip Wingo. There's a reason, okay? Theo Weiss and some of those other wide receivers, gone. They returned Cook, probably, most likely. I think they returned him, probably returned the running back as well. But,
Bray Cook ain't going nowhere. Where Bray Cook gonna go? He ain't going pro.
No. So, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, moving on. Go ahead, man. Put that. Let's put this. Oh, my fault. I just wanted to show everybody what happened to Florida's recruiting class.
Wow.
As you can see, we're trying to, this is wild. So I'll go ahead and take that off. How did they get there? Anyway,
disrespectfulness, man. This man over here trying to start fights.
So let's go to the SEC, man. Let's move on. It's our last segment we'll do. This schedule, man. What are your thoughts on it? Look, first off, I'll just say this right here. I gotta say this. Gotta get this out. I've been on Twitter and Instagram, and I have seen Auburn fans and Ole Miss fans say 12-0, 10-2 at worst. That'd be your icebreaker right there.
I think the cutest thing in the world is hearing any team in the SEC not named Alabama or Georgia say 12-0. It's the funniest thing from the old ones. It's hilarious. Because the one thing to keep in mind with all of this is we're talking about the schedule here, right? This is the thing to keep in mind. Oklahoma and Texas is walking in here. Oklahoma and Texas does something that these other SEC schools do not do very good. That's recruit. Both of them maintain top 10 recruiting class. Venables has 3 straight. In the SEC, we're 5th. Texas is 3rd. Auburn jumped us because of all the flips and the money they've spent. But for Auburn to think, with as much ish as they've gone through the last few years since Cam Newton got the national championship, that they're worthy enough to actually believe they can go undefeated, hilarious, right? Y'all got to show us that y'all can even get to 10 wins again. That's what you got to do first. Get there. Because getting from 10 to 11 is the hardest thing in the world. It's a lot easier to go from 6 to 9 than it is to go from 10 to 11. Because usually that 10 to 11 means there's one big game you've got to win. And it's usually a massive opponent. So when I see our schedule, I see us start at 5-0. Great potential for that. I don't think Tennessee's ready yet. I think Nico's going to be good, but they've lost a lot of production on the defense and the offensive side of the ball. Like, he ain't got his running back. Nico, Wright is gone. Defense, they lost one of their top tacklers, and Barron, who's gone to the portal. They've lost a lot of production. I need to go dig deeper into their roster now to see who's even left, but they lost a lot of production. Auburn is still retooling. Who's their quarterback?
You're talking about Auburn? I think they're going to run it back with Peyton Thorne.
Who's their quarterback? I'll ask that again in the nicest way.
When Robbie asked for left, I shed a tear. I had a thumb.
Yeah. I saw that your fanship with Auburn was gone.
It was done. I mean, I'm gonna pack up the stuff and send it to Ty if he'll ever send me his address.
Yeah. Let's yeah. So there you go. We don't know who their quarterback is. Let's go to the next game. Right? Oh, shoot, it's a bye week. Ain't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Crazy, because the bye week is set perfectly. Why? Red River, baby. Red River's the next week. So it's perfect, a perfect placed bye week. South Carolina game is going to be tough. Luckily, it's at home, but it's going to be tough. Why? Because it's right after Texas, which for Texas, that next week is going to be hell, because guess who they play? Georgia. So they got Oklahoma, Georgia back to back, dog. Disrespectful, right? And it's at the crib. It's the same weekend as F1. So you're going to have all these billionaires flying in, taking up all the hotels. And so both Georgia fans and Texas fans are going to be struggling to get into Austin to go to this game. But I digress. Ole Miss is going to be a challenge. That game will be a challenge because it'll be 2 games after some quote-unquote SEC games, and you got to travel to the Grove. So being in Oxford, that's going to be a tough one, especially the way that Ole Miss has been in that portal like crazy. I mean, Lane Kiffin's the portal king. So his portal kingness does enough for him to always beat everybody else in the conference except for Georgia and Bama. Now, that next week, lifesaver, Maine. People don't understand. That is your SEC game of the season. That is your FCS team that you're going to thrash with your second stringers so your main people can rest. Because then we got Missouri right afterwards. And I think we can thrash them because we had Maine the week before. Mm-hmm. Even better after Missouri, we got another bye week, baby. Before Bama come to the crib. Best thing to happen to us. LSU terrifies me because we'll be playing Bama right before them. It's one of those, you're going to get beat up. and he got to travel to Death Valley and get beat up again.
We gotta see what they're gonna be like because they're losing some skilled guys. I mean, I think they're returning some guys, but Neighbors is gone. Who was the other wide receiver that they had this year? I think the other one, did he win the Blitnick?
No, he didn't win the Blitnick. I know who you're talking about though. Oh man,
I don't know why I even said that.
They had a locker room. They had a room full of just elite wide receivers.
Yeah,
from Neighbor, and then the other wide receiver's name, I'm pulling him up right now. Malik Neighbors was the main guy, and the second wide receiver on that team that was just absurdly good, Brian Thomas Jr., the 2,000-yard receivers, and I believe Brian he's a junior. He's probably going to end up going pro.
Huh?
I can see that, but he may come back. He may be the one that actually comes back. And then they got Lacey, Karen Lacey, who's he's a senior, so that's a good question on that. But I digress on that. I personally, when I look at this schedule, I have no concerns with really the big games because they come perfectly after quote-unquote bye weeks. It's those in-between games that scare me. South Carolina scares me. Ole Miss scares me. And it's only because of when we play them. Missouri, I have no fear against Missouri. Alabama, I don't have fear against Alabama now. Now, Milroe is the one veteran quarterback coming back besides Quinn Ewers over there in Texas. So, I mean, am I supposed to count Jackson Dart as a veteran quarterback?
Yes.
Should I really count him as a veteran quarterback?
Jackson Dart will be magical. He will be Avengers like in the first, probably in that first quarter and a half, and then afterwards that's when things get tight. Obviously, I mean, I'll put it like this right here. I think the Alabama and LSU don't necessarily scare me unless we've just been really banged up and we went through a season where we've dropped some games where we shouldn't have. But I think if we get to those games right there unscathed, and let's say that we're sitting at 9-1 or something like that, I think that you have a really good chance to finish the season 10-2. I think people are going to call me crazy, obviously, but I think that by the time you get there, you're going to be a really, really strong team. And I don't think you're going to be reeling on anything as well. The goal is just to keep guys healthy. But like I said, man, I think Jackson Arnold is going to have himself a year. I think the Auburn game, honestly, that's really the main game. That's one of the games that kind of, it doesn't worry me, but it's just the fact that, man, I respect Hugh Freeze a lot. I think South Carolina will be a decent test simply because it's going to be good tune-ups. I think Ole Miss with what they're doing. But here's the funny thing about Ole Miss is that we know Kiffin can make an electric offense. But Kiffin
We've also seen Brent Venables give him hell.
Give him a lot of hell. And hell, you've seen Lincoln give him a lot of hell. I think the thing is that what really makes me nervous about that game is watching Pete Golding out there with possibly Walter Nolan dropping back in coverage. You know, I don't know.
Is he going to be healthy? Remember, that's the last game of the season. The question is who's going to be on the field. And Jason points this out. LSU's going to be fine. Let's not get crazy here, fellas. I don't agree. Go ask Coach. Go ask the coach. You know, the other person on your show. Ask him about Brian Kelly.
But
right? Let's go ahead and let him talk about Brian
Kelly.
Because the funny thing, we look at the recruiting there. I mean, they don't look like LSU recruiting. They below us. And LSU's infamous for pulling all the local guys. Now, granted, there's still a few dudes out there that they could possibly pull in, but LSU losing dudes, not really pulling much in the portal right now. And nobody is saying that LSU is trash. I'm just pointing out their defense was trash this year, though. That's not something we're used to. Talk to me about that defense. Talk to me how bad, how they was using Harold Perkins. Like, I've seen so many people look at the way LSU was using him as asking the question, what the hell is they thinking?
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I told my I said, hey man, I said LSU got Perkins out there playing like Benito against Nebraska. Maybe we need to ask that kid if he'd like to change the scenery, because I didn't understand what was going on with Harold Perkins this year. I didn't get it. I don't get
nobody did. And Jason,
Yeah.
one of those was with Ed Orgeron. Like, come on now. They had one of the they offense was full of nothing but NFL wide receivers. This year they had a bunch of NFL wide receivers too. Daniels did win the Heisman, but they lost 3 games. Their defense was bad this year. Bad.
And I think I've heard some people talk about he may make some moves.
Yes,
there.
It's Brian Kelly. I expect it to stay the same. I mean, he could throw a rock and get 5 stars outside of his house right now, in which he's starting to do because Orgeron stopped doing it for some weird. Well, it wasn't weird. After he won that national championship, Orgeron got a divorce, and that's when things started to go down. The stories I heard about him at practices, yeah, that dude was wild. So, but the thing is, yes, Jason, they've always attracted talent. The question is, who's coaching them? And what they look like when they coached.
I said Orgeron had his girlfriend's kid taking reps from
Orgeron had the women's in there calling plays.
That's crazy, bro.
That dude was doing some wild-ish there, man.
And that's and that's the funny thing is that Brian Kelly is still pretty much eating off of what Orgeron was doing there. Let's just be real. Some of those kids are still little hangovers, So it's gonna be interesting. Go ahead.
Right, and Dad, real quick today, he talked about the talent piece. I mean, we talk about Texas all the time for that, right? Isn't that like the running joke with Texas? They keep top 5 recruiting classes and can't coach them up to win games.
Yeah,
that's kind of my point. Is that LSU's going to get talent? That is it. They're going to throw a rock. They're going to get 5 stars. Those kids are 100% under voodoo, and they just bleed that Mardi Gras color with the extra green.
But yeah, James, hey, you're right. Jay, leave Ed alone. He was on a rebound, bro. Come on, man.
Now, as a divorce attorney, he divorced his wife. He left
as a divorce attorney, I can tell you that's a very vulnerable moment. So you just need.
He left her on purpose. He left her after he won the title when he was the freaking basically governor of Louisiana. He was out there.
Hey man, look, we ain't gonna watch nobody's dirty clothes.
Let me tell you this. I was in Vegas in March, and I was walking through a hotel, and guess who I saw walking around?
Jay, you gonna get a suit.
And guess how old the young lady was next to him? We gonna guess. My point exactly.
Look, we ain't gonna wash nobody's dirty clothes on here, but like Jason would say, like Nick would say, wipe your feet. But man, look.
Wait, did Jason just say that LSU isn't Texas? Hold a second.
Oh, he said stop drinking that cool. Wait a minute, Jason, what?
Right, because, I mean, I've seen them. They won the national championship in 19, and then 20 they went 5-5, and then went 6-7 right afterwards. And that's when Orgeron got fired. Besides the Les Miles run, they ain't really done much. A lot of up and down. The Nick Saban run was good. But they ain't been, I mean, I'm looking at this. Like I'm looking here. I'm looking here, Jason. Please explain. I'm looking. Like, am I supposed to be like, oh man, LSU is going to be massive juggernaut? Their defense was ass last year.
A defensive line, man, as good
and
as
you got Harold Perkins.
As good as they looked against Florida State, it just did not translate the rest of the year until they started playing like lesser talented teams. You thought things were going to really come together whenever they shredded Mississippi State, and then after that, it just was like it was just really up and down. And that defense gave up quite a ton of points to Ole Miss as well, which was kind of shocking. You thought that would be a game where they would all play close to the brim, but it wasn't. It was a shootout. And that's how most of their games were. They were shootouts, So I think that's something that we definitely.
OU wasn't ass on defense though, Jason.
Yeah,
they had 2 bad games. They weren't ass on defense. Our efficiency rating is way higher than LSU's. Like, come on now. Let's call a spade
now,
here. Like, seriously.
Now
they were ass on defense.
Now
I don't get where you're defending them like this. So like why? We pointed out their defense is ass. And the way that they're using their best player got people concerned about the way that they're doing things there. Like 100%. Everybody's trying to figure out what is LSU doing? Yeah. Luckily, Jaden Daniels did everything he did. Do I expect them to find another Jaden Daniels out of the transfer portal? Chris, please tell me, do you see another Jaden Daniels in the transfer portal right now?
No, unless Jalen Daniels from up there at Kansas just magically jumps into the portal. Right. I don't see them just pulling that. But they're really excited about Nussmeier, though. They're really excited about Nussmeier.
I mean, they are. We gotta see if it pans out. Didn't he play a game this year?
Yeah.
I don't think some concerns.
I don't think he played a game. I think he came in for because when Jaden Daniels
got hurt, didn't he?
He took some hits this year. I don't know. You have to go and look and see.
I'm at to look and see which game that was. I remember him going in, and those people were just kind of like, about him for some reason. I didn't think that he was that bad. I thought that he just looked like a young quarterback. But
yeah,
wasn't it Bama? Yeah, it was Bama. Yeah, he threw his 5 for 10. And I mean, it's Bama, but yeah, he looked nervous. He didn't look like Gunnar Gundy out there. He wasn't doing this before the snap the entire time doing this.
Bro, how does your own son transfer from your program?
Man, Moms was probably pissed. Moms probably told him, son, get your butt in that portal. We leaving this man.
Hey, Swazoo, here we go. Yeah, we going, baby. We going to the top. But
I'm just saying, that's hilarious. But no, I think that the LSU game is going to be interesting to me because it's the last game of the season.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make it interesting to
me. It's going to be a night game.
What's attrition? Oh yeah, Thanksgiving weekend. What does attrition looks like for both squads going into that game? That's really going to be the key.
That's the biggest thing. This year. This spring and summer portions are huge for guys like Gavin Sawchuk, all of those people. But the biggest thing that you could do is just be healthy, getting towards the end of the season next year. Honestly, because I'm saying, man, I need Stutzman and I need Bowman to be healthy towards the end of the season, and because I think that Stutzman's play was affected down the stretch. I still think that he should have been in the conversation for the Buckets. But I think those guys, I think coming into the season, I felt a lot better simply because of the things I heard about BV changing up at practice as far as trying to, not send these guys to well, that's a poor way to put it. What I was about to say, but not sending these guys to a very grueling, summer and fall camp. Basically trying to get them ready. I think that he figured it out what was going to really work. So I'm excited about it, man. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it right now. At worst 10-2. I think at worst 10-2 again. I think that we're that good. I think that we're that season. I think that for all the naysayers out there, what did Drake say? The tweeters and the leaders. Right.
I said 9-3 is our floor.
You said 9-3?
Yeah, 9-3 is our floor. Health wise is going to be critical.
Uh-huh.
That's the one. That's what I'm thinking about. I think the ceiling is probably 11-1. I think we lose one game. I just don't know who.
Yeah.
It's probably between the revenge of Texas to Alabama. Now remember, Ole Miss picked up 8 million players out of the portal on the defensive line.
Yeah, I think.
The question is, what do they look like? Are they actually players?
Yeah,
or are they just collecting checks?
I think we get Texas. I think that loss could either be Auburn.
Quentin, we beat y'all, dog. You can't talk. We beat y'all. And we should have beat y'all by double digits instead of we decided to spot y'all some points in the end zone on the punt.
That is very
bro,
true.
We beat y'all. Stop talking.
I guess we have the best.
Stop talking.
He said that Jackson ain't it. Yeah, so is your quarterback that's been there for 16 years. Nobody cares about Quinn no more.
Yeah.
If Quinn Ewers went into the draft right now, he wouldn't be Spencer Rattler would be
No, you can't, Quentin. Y'all lost to us, bro. Still little brother. Hush it up.
Now,
man.
You can't come in here and talk, bro. You gotta make sure you hit that like button though. Said delusional.
Of course, 100%. Delusion. But anyway, now LSU's got, if they can work on McKinley as well as Bussy, then their class changes. That's the question: is what that look like, right? They got to get that. They got to close and seal those deals, which ain't the easiest. But they got some. I mean, the question is, what's Brian Kelly doing? There's a lot of people asking that question right now. But I think that SEC is gonna be fun next year. I want to see what Ole Miss looks like. Like I said, Sean was right. I gotta kind of count. I have to count Jackson Arnold. He has 4 capable limbs, so I gotta consider him a human.
Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I got Jackson Dart. I gotta include him because he has limbs. But the question is, how is he going to be able to play against this defense? Like I said, we've seen what Brent Venables has been able to do against Lane Kiffin, how he prepares that defense, the way it plays. That's the most important thing, right?
That's the most important thing. It's the matchups, man.
Right. Matchups makes games. So
let's see. Sooners Cowboys said 8-4 to 9-3. Sooners Cowboys is always hesitant to crown, and I understand it and I respect it.
I'm pessimist. 100% pessimist.
Big pessimist.
Love them. Pure pessimist, though. Pure pessimist.
9-3 is the floor.
Pure. It's like pure cocaine right there. Just pure.
It's true.
Original.
There's a big line there, and he's just like, I don't know right now. Steven
G. Please, Sean. I would like you to dress up as Jerry Lawler. Oh, every single stream you do, you got to do it.
Oh, that would be amazing. The king. Steven G said 9-3. Ceiling is 11-1. I can see that. I can see it, man. And this is the last thing I'm gonna say to Quentin. Quentin, y'all came in here and told us we were gonna go 9-3. 8-4 was our floor. 9-3 was our ceiling. 10-2 later, and y'all still don't respect it, and we beat y'all. So I'm not gonna give you any more time, man. Shoot, go away. Shoot. So hey, look, guys, we talked about it all. We talked about the move to the SEC.
He said this is the Big 12 from a guy that has only. Never mind. Continue, Chris. I'm sorry.
We talked about the move to the SEC. We talked about Kaden Green. We talked about the portal additions. Deion Burks, not Branch. We talked about the recruiting class, who we're excited about, all the rest of those things. Guys, I don't know what else we could really talk about. I mean, we could talk about the fact that Texas shouldn't be there, and because Texas is in the playoffs, that now Florida State is in disarray and they don't know where they want to go. You're hearing reports that the SEC doesn't want them, and I'm like, that's stupid. I don't know why. That's been the word for the longest. You're hearing they want to go to the SEC or the Big Ten. I mean, Florida State is just in disarray. You see what happened down there. I mean, Florida is in a state of shock right now. I woke up this morning and the first thing I did was get into a Miami Twitter space. And let me tell you something. I got some hair on my chest right now.
I saw you when I logged on to the Bird app and saw you there. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Why would he do that to himself? Why he subject himself to that?
Miami will rise again. That was the name of the Twitter space. I didn't know where I was at. I was in a world of unknown. It was
But
rough,
I gotta give it to him though, man. I mean, they got another big class. Mario Cristobal went out there and got himself a big class. I mean, they flipped like 80 people.
Mario Cristobal got to get him a big time quarterback, or it ain't gonna work.
I mean, it never does. That's the problem. Is they never get it. Their defense is gonna be stout again. I mean,
let me one last question. Have you heard anything about Cam Ward?
Man, that man just kicking it. I bet you he doesn't make a choice until I don't think he's gonna do anything until probably January. It makes sense to me. But yeah, we ain't seen nothing out of him.
Well, all right. Well, Jay, tell everybody where they can find you at, my guy.
You know where it is. Unfair Sports. Find me here on YouTube as well as whatever podcast to download it and listen to. Thanks, Chris, as usual.
All right, look, Horns Down Podcast. Definitely like, subscribe, do all those things. Share, do it all. Channel, popping, all the rest of that stuff. We'll try to be back next Thursday if we can. Everybody have a blessed holidays, man. Everybody except for you, Quinn. I hope that y'all lose to Washington. I hope everything bad in the world happens to Texas. All right. So, hey, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this stream